All right, we should get busy with work. I put in the chat a link to the Maine School Management Association's fall conference that is this Thursday and Friday, just to let you all know, in case you weren't aware, that that is happening. I am at Donna and I are presenting a double session, so it's 2 hours, not the same session each hour, because in 1 hour there's no way we can get through 8279 information and how to understand your reports. So it's a session on Friday. The first session is in session 6, I believe, and the second half of that is in session 7 on Friday. And it's basically digging deep into your 8279 reports. So if anybody wants to come to that, I think that's a great opportunity. It's also a big, if you have the ability to reach out to your superintendent, this is a great conference for them and school board members. I'm hoping that we can get a lot of school board members because I think um, that's an area that we have not been able to reach as well as we would like. And I'm sure you would appreciate school board members understanding how school funding works so that when you're there presenting your budgets, that there's not as much misunderstandings and misconceptions that are out there about the formula. So I am trying very hard to reach out to that group. And so I'm really hoping that many will attend this conference this week. So we're going to start things off with a reminder about the data that is due this month for the upcoming calculations of FY27 funding. So Donna, if you don't mind being the first one and sharing your screen for your information, uh, that would be great. Unless you're not ready. And if you're not ready, I can move to somebody
No,
else.
I'm ready. I
Okay.
just couldn't find the right button. I'm still can't find the right button. Share. There it is. They keep moving. Share between Teams and Zoom is
I
always
have,
in a different place. So
yeah, I have the same issue.
can you see my slide?
Yes, go
Okay.
ahead. Thank
Thank you.
you.
I just wanted to give a quick update on bus subsidy because I get a lot of questions about adjustments to bus subsidy. Um, so I've just listed out a few things that happen that cause changes to your subsidy for the bus allocation, which is in section 3 of your ED 279. So if there are adjustments, it's usually due to changing in the number of years you're going to pay off the bus. A big one is the EFT 20 is not submitted correctly. Invoices where you paid for the bus are submitted and the invoice is less than what the state bid amount, or some people receive a grant to pay for part of the funds. But the big thing I wanted to just bring you up to date on is the cancellation of buses. This one has been a big issue where the transportation directors are canceling buses by mistake, and it's a huge process to get those back into the system for payment. So it's become a lot of work behind the scenes for buses that need to be reestablished in the system. And so now they are setting up so that business managers will need to sign off on any bus cancellations. And this should keep um, me getting a lot of bus emails on why was my subsidy removed because the bus was canceled. So that I just wanted to bring you up to date on that. If you have not heard, that is going to be another step in the process of canceling a bus. And then the other quick thing is data. Just a reminder, as I'm sure you'll hear again in this meeting, we're getting close to the end of October. So please be sure that you are getting your data in for your staff and students. And that's all I had.
Thanks, Donna. Anybody have any questions about the change to the bus approval process for canceling? We're doing this actually for not to give you more work, but to give you less work, to keep you in the loop. to ensure that funding is not removed inappropriately for a bus that you actually did purchase. So I hope you understand that. We're not trying to add to your level of responsibility. We're trying to help make sure things don't happen that cause stress later on. And that has been happening a lot in the last couple years and especially lately this year for some reason.
In
So,
the when a bus is canceled, it's a lot of emails back and forth to get it reestablished.
and tickets in the back end and time taken away from other requirements that are needed. So just a lot on your end and on our end that we're trying to resolve with this extra step. So, okay. Charlotte, how about you talk about the data that we're looking at now? And what's due and kind of some of the things you've noticed in the student and staff data that you've been reviewing, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so I can do that. Some of you may have gotten some emails from me if you had, we've been reviewing counts mostly to see if counts are down or if SAUs have, some of them had students in, but may not have had certain populations identified. So some districts got some emails from me about that, CTE, special ed, those types of things. So just make sure that, you know, all of your students are identified for all of the different populations that they may belong to. So if you know you have students that are, you know, economically disadvantaged, we sent out the form about the alternate economic form that can be used if you know that you have populations that are economically disadvantaged, but you're a CEP school or a provision school, or you have parents that don't want to fill out the school lunch form. If you're able to send that out, there's still time to do that. It's dwindling, but there's still a little bit of time. We did notice that those counts are down this year. Those populations are down a bit. Other than that, make sure staff data is in, as Donna said. We have been, the Madam Support Team has been reaching out to people about years of experience for people that may have changed either up or down. People may be unaware. We try to explain every year that we do, when we roll staff forward, we do increment that year of experience. So you do not need to do that. So if we incremented it and you incremented it, then that means there's 2 years of experience when it should have just been one. So just keep that in mind if you're going in to look at to update a step, remember that's already been in your unit. You don't need to update that unless you know that it's wrong. Also, it's not clear, and we're trying to think of ways to make it clearer within the application itself, within NEO staff, but it's the years that that person has been doing that role. So not necessarily that position in that school or that SAU, but all of the years of experience that that person has being either a principal or a teacher, or all of their experience in like roles. So for example, we've seen some people that have put some principals in at multiple schools because they may be doing the job, you know, part-time in each of the schools, and they have different years of experience, and that doesn't make sense. It's as a principal, not as a principal in that school. So it just try to keep that in mind. And if you're getting questions from the Madam Support Team, that's why we're sort of looking at those to make sure that that big changes are accounted for. Sometimes it makes sense. They were put in wrong originally, and now you're updating that, and we appreciate that attention to detail. And I can't think of anything else other than make sure you get your that substitutes are put into your staff. I think we covered that last month, but some of the people that we're looking at for the minimum hourly staff, people are still sending those in to me, and I appreciate that. But remember, we can only provide you reimbursement funds if that person was in NEO staff last year and is in NEO staff this year in that same role. So if you didn't have that person in as a substitute last year, but you do this year, that it's not really going to work. But some people have never been in neo staff at all, and I'm still looking at them, and they're still not there. We can deal with the students ones a little bit, but if they were ed techs or other staff, there's really no reason for them to have not been in neo staff, and we're not going to be able to pay you for those.
Also, I would just add, relating to what Charlotte was saying about its years of experience in that role, ed tech is ed tech. It doesn't matter ed tech 1, 2, or 3 years of experience for this purpose. And if they were ed tech 1 and then they became an ed tech 2, all years of experience as an ed tech counts. So that's something else to be aware of. So thank you for that, Charlotte. Again,
I got one more thing, Paul.
sure, go ahead.
For those of you that send students to private schools, we are trying to keep the approved tuition page updated. It is up to date as it can currently be at this moment in time. So if you have schools that are not on there, I encourage you to reach out to them because they have things that they need to do, not for the school finance team, but for the school approval team that they have not finished yet. So we have all of the finance information that we need from all of the private schools that say they want to accept tuition, public tuition, but they may not have finished everything else that they need to do to get final school approval. So we are updating that list daily as we get more information from the school approval team, but there are still a bunch that are not on there because they have not finished all of their requirements.
Right. And I'll say one other thing before I answer Donna's question in the chat, about private schools and enrollments. So if you do send students to private schools, the private school is supposed to enter their enrollments into NEO, into Synergy. Not NEO, excuse me, into Synergy, the state information system. You then are supposed to review what you see, paid by other source, if they are not paid by you, if it's a private pay, paid by SAU. If it's paid by the SAU, that means you're paying tuition. All of these students, especially if you're paying tuition, the private schools should be collecting all of that demographic information, because if some of these students are in fact economically disadvantaged, for instance, then they should be counted that way. But that means that the private school should be collecting that information on your behalf. And many of them don't realize that they should be. And so you may want to reach out to them and ask them to use the alternate form and to find out if any of the students that are attending private schools are economically disadvantaged, because that will only increase your percentage for economic disadvantage status for your entire calculation of funding. So that's an important thing to remember to ask them to do on your behalf. And if they say no, remind them you're paying them tuition for the students to attend there, and that this is important for you to receive all the funding that you should. So that's just one thing I wanted to remind you. So as far as Donna's question, if we have a long-term sub in for an open teaching position, do we put the sub in as a teacher? If they're not a teacher and they're a long-term sub, no, you put them in as a long-term sub. Always put them in as what they're actually doing. If you want to put them in if you're able to put them in as a teacher because they're certified, then put them in as a teacher. But if they're a long-term sub, which a long-term sub, usually in the system that we have now, it's supposed to replace somebody who's off on a leave. So, I think, which means a long-term sub is counted as a teacher in the system for APS purposes. But usually you have to replace someone who is on leave or who is no longer there. What if it's a long-term sub being placed in a position that we cannot fill? Same thing, I believe, Natasha, usually it's replacing, but I guess it's replacing the person that left when you put it into the system. Charlotte, do you have any insight into that? That might be something that you want to talk to Allie Cookson in the Medem support desk as to how to input them. So because long-term subs in teaching positions, a long-term substitute teacher will count as EPS staff. And so I would, if it's somebody that isn't coming back, but that's how you're filling it, I would talk to Ally exactly about how to put that in. And if she's not sure about the question either, you can loop me in and we can discuss it together. Hope that helps. I see Chris came on. Did you have a question or something you wanted to say, Chris? No? Okay. You just wanted to say hi. I appreciate that. Anybody else have any questions about what Charlotte and I were just talking about as far as the enrollments, staffing? It is, as she said, it's not too late to continue to collect the economic disadvantage status forms, especially if you haven't done it yet. But we're getting close to the it's too late time. Many people misunderstood and some information that was given by some nutrition staff that they are not supposed to collect information at all, but that's regarding free and reduced lunch form specific to nutrition. However, we want you to use the alternate form. That's great, Andrea. That's wonderful. I know 100 may not seem like a lot, but it's better than none. I'm glad because the alternate form, until we can determine and put into statute a different way of counting those that are considered economically disadvantaged for EPS purposes, this is the best we have. And I recommend you send it out, even if you also collect free reduced lunch forms, because many people don't want to fill those out lately, especially because that's all meals, and meals are pretty much free now, I believe. So our alternate form has nothing to do with feeding kids, has nothing to do with anything except the EPS calculation. It can't be used for federal funding. It can't be used for any other source of funds or for feeding kids. It can only be used for this purpose. But hopefully it does help the EPS calculation for your district, because historically we believe percentages of economic disadvantaged students in all over Maine is likely higher than what we're collecting. And we would like to see that better. Again, as I mentioned, and I mention it every time we talk about this collection, we are looking for a better way of determining it. We just haven't figured it out yet. We're hoping to find something that doesn't require a collection at all. So if any of you have any ideas, please send it to me. And we have reached out to try to use income tax forms from the MRS, and they are not able, I'll say able, to share with us the data that they collect for this purpose in the way that we would need it. So that's where we are still with that. We keep hitting roadblocks in that request. Any other questions? Any other comments regarding the collections of student and staff data? Okay, I'm going to move on. Who wants to go next? Terry, Denise? One of you? Terry? Okay, Terry.
I can go.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to share my screen if I can share my screen.
Should be able to.
We'll see. Okay. Can you see my little
Yes.
slide?
Thank you.
Okay. So I just wanted to share that we did have a system glitch with our EFS 07, the special ed reporting module. On 10/15, we had an update, and that caused some problems over the course of 15th through the 17th. Only our side was affected. And by that, I mean any 07s that I accepted, rejected, or saved notes or comments to caused all of the dollar amounts that you guys entered to go to zeros. So our team has been working really hard to get this tested and fixed, and all of the reports are being restored, and they should be fully functional. The module should be fully functional later today. I've been told that it can be fixed as soon as noontime today, but just a caveat to that, if anybody is in the special ed module, it doesn't matter if it's our side, the district side, they will be booted out when that fix happens. So just know that if you do get booted out of the special ed module while you're working, it's because they're doing the fix so that we can continue with our work.
And that is supposed to take place at noon. So
yes,
kind of, and it shouldn't take long. But if you do need to, you would just need to log in again.
Yes. The difference that you may notice is if you've already received notification that yours was accepted, or you got notification that it's been rejected, it's going to show up for me to do that again. So I just have to go in and accept them again or reject them again so that they're in the system correctly. So you may get notification of that. And then the other thing that I want to talk about is just reminders. The EFS 07 was due on October 15th, and right now we've received about 60%. And the FY25 Q4 financial reports were due on August 30th, and we've received about 61% of those. So our time is very limited for us to get these reviewed and processed before the calculations are done. And Paula can speak more to that.
Yes, we, as noted here, we will be freezing the data on October 31st. So we really need all of this information put in so that we can review it and reach out to you if there are issues. We do review every piece of data that we receive. And as you know, we're a small team, but we are doing it to be helpful to you, to ensure that you, once we do the calculations, we can ensure that you're getting all that you should. So we need time to be able to review it before we have to stop for the calculations. And for those of you who don't know, the calculations can't just, yes, they're individual SAU calculations, but before we can determine the mill rate for the year and all of that bigger picture information, we have to have them all completed so that we have the total cost of education that includes all SAUs. So it's not like we can just do all but one and then add them in later. It doesn't work that way. Everything has to be done simultaneously by a certain date. So if there's a reason you're holding off on submitting your Q4 financials, please let us know why. If you're waiting for your audit, please don't. We can't wait for your audit. We have to have what you have now so that we can start calculating. So please reach out to Terry if you have questions, or even myself if you need to. I probably can't answer your questions, but I will do my best. So we're all here to help you, to work with you, partner with you. Jen, I'm assuming, Terry, I'm assuming you see Jen's question in the chat and you can help her.
I have not, but I did also want to say that I have received many, many emails and voicemails, and I'm slowly but surely working through all of them. But again, I appreciate your patience as I work through all of these.
Please know Terry is a one-person team on this particular. It's her task this time of year. She does both the 07 and the Q4 financials, so she's getting through them as quickly as she can. We will help her as needed, if necessary, as time gets shorter, if as needed. So, but just please remember that she is working through them as quickly as she can. She's not ignoring you, I promise. And if she is, I'll have a talk with her.
And Jennifer, I'll look at that and let you know.
I believe, Adam, that is true. There's a backlog, and we've had to deal with this glitch that we had in the 07 system, and we wanted to get that quickly fixed because of the reminders I sent out last week. And so, yes, it's just the backlog. So thank you for that, Adam. So yeah, if you are in pending status, please know we're getting to them as quickly as we can as far as your Q4s. And budget
Adam,
the budget files. Hold on, budget
okay.
files. That's a Denise question.
Right, and I'm gonna check in on that.
Okay.
Because I'm not sure what's going on with that, Adam, because I'm working on September dates. So I'm gonna do a backtrack and see where we're sitting. And I'll let you know what I say. Thank you.
Thanks, Denise. Just wanted
You're
to check. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, same. Hi, Denise. This is Mark. Same here, but it's, it took us forever to get an approved budget, is why we're so late, but it's in there.
But you did it.
Right.
Good
We
job,
did
Mark.
What's happening is, just like with Terry, you have 266 districts sending stuff. So I'm about 4 weeks out, and it's typical. Because I have other things in between those things too. So Usually I will send a thanks. I'll review it soon. If you receive that, please know that I am working up the
Nope.
email list. So
Nope, that's perfect. Thank you.
And
thank
thanks
you.
for checking with us. I mean, I agree. I would be wondering too if mine were waiting since July 15th. So thank you. Denise, did you have anything else you wanted to say? Or Terry, I'm assuming you're done before okay. Denise?
I don't really. The only thing I can think of is if you don't have your FY25 budget done and in with the backup, please do so. Those are the ones that will need to be, looked at for the calculation too. So
Yeah, the
really,
25 budget is used in the upcoming 27 calculation. So if that was never done, please focus on that and then work on your 26.
yeah, that's it.
Thanks, Denise. Okay. Michelle, I don't think you had anything you needed to mention today. Okay. Ida, you're here now. Thank you. Ida had some trouble getting into Zoom for some reason. She's here now. We did talk about the deadlines, but I know you wanted to talk more about the CT enrollment stuff.
Yeah, so luckily Charlotte did send out, there were a few CTEs that had no enrollment in. I believe they are starting to populate, which is great. However, so CTEs are concurrent enrollments, so they are impacted by their primary enrollments. So they can't put their stuff in until primary enrollments are in. But since many are in, I would like to ask the CTE directors, the business managers, to talk to their CTE directors and make sure that their data looks good to them before the superintendent signs off. That data does need to be certified independent of the, so there's an October 1 enrollment student count that has to be certified, and your CTE enrollment October 1 data needs to be certified, but that should be checked to make sure with your CT directors that, it's reflective of what's the students that are there. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you. So a reminder, I know you all know this, enrollments probably aren't your job. Certifying them certainly isn't your job. It's the superintendent and whoever is putting in your student enrollments, but as you know, it affects your job. And I've provided in the past the documents to show you how to check them so that you can go into, if you have access, and if you don't, you can always ask your superintendent for access in NEO student data to look at the current enrollments, and you can see the summary detail one that shows you right at the bottom how it compares to last year. So you can check with your people to say, hey, is this right? Can we double check these? Can we make sure these are right? Special ed counts, economic disadvantage counts, English learner counts. All of those are extremely important to the funding analysis calculations. And you also have the ability to go in and look at the staff counts as well to ensure that your page 1 counts, a way of comparing them. That you can see what we've got this year compared, and you can talk to your people about that. It all impacts the funding, and so it's important. While it may not be your job, it rolls downhill to your job or uphill. I'm not sure which way it goes, but it goes that way. And so we're just trying to give you the tools and give you the ability so that we do what's right. We want to give you the most you can get based on the way the calculation works now. I think that was all that our team had. Was there anybody else on our team that had anything else to say? Oh, Zach's struggling to get in. So Zach, I'm sorry, if you could reach out to the Madam support team about that. They'll help you with whatever's going on there. Thanks. Okay, anybody else on our team before I open it up to everybody else on this meeting? Oh, I would also say, for those of you who are in either cohort 1 or cohort 2 of the CDS pre-K special ed transition, we have finally collected all of the counts for October 1. And we are working now, today and tomorrow, on getting that calculation done to send out the quarter 2 payment, hopefully by the end of this week. So just so you know, we're working on that now. So opening it up to everybody who has come, really appreciate you being here. What questions do you have for us? And it's okay, any question we can handle. Give it to us. If you don't have any questions, that just tells us we're doing such a great, oh, Andrea. Has there been any discussion regarding how schools are funded while our enrollments are declining? The student issues seem to multiply tenfold. Agreed, Andrea. Agreed. Understood. So I'm not sure if you all know this, but there's something called, I think we've talked about it before, LD 318, which was the second part of a study that MEPRI, the Maine Education Policy Research Institute, was asked to do last year for the Ed Committee. That study last year was completed, and then LD 318 has asked, or I should say instructed, MEPRI and us, the DOE, to do further studies, and we are working through those now. And you can look up, I can look it up for you and put it in the link if you like, what LD 318 is. That study is critical in looking at the funding formula and EPS modules. One of them in particular being special ed. We realize that the special ed calculation allocation module in EPS is not adequate. And so we are looking at that as closely as we can. That is one area. And then, of course, the other areas, economic disadvantaged, et cetera. So we are looking further into that, Andrea.
Paula, are they also looking at doing something with the valuation piece? Because that is just been ridiculous since COVID, and everyone has either bought properties here or moved here.
Yeah, town valuation is a, what's a good word?
It is not representative of what our families can afford. Just because somebody has valuation in their house doesn't mean that they're able to support these tax increases that we're asking them.
Yep. Agreed. So yes, that is one of the areas they are looking at, ability to contribute, which is looking at valuation and whether there's another way of doing the distribution of funding on Section 4 of the 279. So yes, that is a key element of the LD 318 that we are reviewing. The other thing I would mention, and I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this, but there is also trying to find a task force that was put in place. It's Real Estate Property Tax Relief Task Force that exists, that was put into place after last year's session. And they are looking into all kinds of things for tax relief. Now, I bring that up because one of the things they looked at was how taxes impact education funding. And one thing I would say is, yes, we're looking at how we can adjust the model to see if we can distribute the ability to contribute differently to better understand. I've said this before, and I will say this again. I don't think we can get completely away from property tax because, again, if we did, we would lose all that out-of-state funding that goes into it. The ones that truly can afford it because their property taxes here in Maine are second homes, et cetera. So we can't get away from it completely. I do see how we might be able to hopefully change it so that it's not quite as huge a burden for everybody. That being said, the tax relief that I think residents of Maine, many of them might need, would come from the tax committee. There we go. That's the word. So if you're not aware of this task force, I believe, yes. I'm going to post a hyperlink that I think will take you to information about the meetings they've had so far. I signed up for email information about what they're doing. And, that might be something that you can also look into. Because agreed that it's gotten out of hand. My personal taxes went up significantly this year, and yeah, it's a struggle. And yeah, COVID has just, we're reaching a peak again in home values that is unaffordable for all of us. So I agree with you that there's something that we need to do something. But so yes, Andrea, thank you for asking that. That is definitely being looked at. Any other questions? Okay, I think I just found LD3. Yes, I found LD318. I'm going to put the link to that so you can look at what we are, the detail that we're looking at in the funding formula right now with MEPRI. Those reports, we're working through scenarios now to see how they would affect the formula. Their reports are supposed to be ready to be submitted to the Ed Committee in January, I believe, in the hopes that if there are changes they want to do, that would happen in the next legislative session, the upcoming session, which is unlikely to impact the FY27 calculation. It could, but that would be very difficult because, as you know, we need to have things calculated for you by February 1st so that you can then go forth and figure out your budget. So keeping in mind those timeframes. Thank you, Andrea. I appreciate that. Will this impact CTE formula or just regular EPS? The LD 318, Joya, is that what you're asking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't believe there's any, I had to think for a minute and I see Ida shaking her head. There's nothing in LD 318 specific to the CTE calculation. However, that is coming up, I believe, in one of our upcoming modules to be reviewing.
Yes, that's correct.
And I believe there's also still something on the table from last year that never made it off appropriations that might come up again this session related to CTE. So I don't believe 318 has anything. I mean, 318 LD 318 does not impact the CTE module calculation. Anybody else? Anybody else have any questions you want to bring up or?
Oh, there's another question there about coaches.
Oh, thank you. I missed it. Do coaches, not teachers who are also coaches, go in staff data? Yes. Everybody goes in staff data. Everybody who has any interaction with students needs to be put into the NEO staff. NEO staff is a collection not just for EPS purposes, okay? It is a collection for many other purposes other than EPS. EPS, in my opinion, because we do EPS, is the most important, but that's because of what I do. But NEO staff also collects everything to ensure, for one thing, that any student, any staff, whether they are contracted staff or actual employees, have been given their criminal records history check. That's key. So anyone who has any contact with students at all, bus drivers, contracted bus drivers, coaches, anyone has to be put into the NEO staff systems. Substitutes, as Charlotte mentioned, they haven't been put, there are some that haven't been putting in substitutes, and that's a problem, especially given this new law where we're supposed to be providing this adjustment of funding for the first year, and we can't because they were never put in. But yeah, everybody should be put into NEO staff, even if they're a contracted staff member. I hope that helps with that question, Lisa. And then, Andrea, where does the 15% rate for special ed come from? The 15% rate came from back in 2000, prior to 2006, when the review and task force that created the EPS formula, that was the, I believe, the average percentage at the time for the special ed rate. And so, yes, I agree that that is likely. I'm assuming you're saying that to say that it's likely that it's too low and that we have a higher percentage rate, average rate in the district, in the state now, which I believe we do. I believe it's more like 20%. So I agree that that needs to be looked at. And I do believe that that is something that MEPRI has been looking at in their review that they're doing now. So I believe, again, I hope that answers your question, Andrea. If, we do have copies of the original EPS report and when EPS was originally created, and it gives background as to how they came up with certain amounts to use in the formula. And I believe it explains it, which I could look for it and hand it. I can find a copy of that and send it out to everybody if you're interested, but I'm pretty sure that's exactly what it was.
Well, it's also, it's and they've cemented it in statute right now. So to have it changed.
It's a statutory change, right? So I believe it was a state rate at the time, but again, I can look at the original report and find out for you. But again, that is something they're looking at, and it would require to change a statute change. But yeah, that is one of the reasons that our formula isn't adequate, because the identification rate for the regular percentage that is part of the formula has not been increased to match the increased identification that is happening in the state. Anything else? This is great. I love this. I love the back and forth, and I love that you guys come with questions to be asked. Yeah, I agree. It's not reflective. We want to help you. We want the formula to be the best that it can be. And so we are working with all of these entities that are asking these questions to do better. But again, a lot of it is most of everything related to the formula is in statute. We are bound by statute. And so the changes need to go through the process. And I'm hopeful that something will come of these studies that will make things a bit better going forward. If not for the 27 calculation, at least for the 28 calculation going forward. But your input to those that are doing the study, and when the studies come out in the reports to the Ed Committee especially, is going to be key. Because the Ed Committee is going to listen better to those of you in the field that are impacted directly than they will listen to us, even though we are working with you as closely as we can. So just put that out there. Anybody else? This has been great. I really appreciate this. Looking forward to the next month. If you have, by the way, I wanted to put this out there as well. If you have specific topics you'd like us to bring up in next month's monthly office hours, please send them to me, and I will work on getting that done so that we can give you the information that you need. All right. So a reminder about Maine School Management Association fall conference this Thursday and Friday. Hopefully I'll see some of you there if you're coming. I will be there Thursday attending some of the sessions myself, and then for conversations if you want. And I will also be there Friday presenting the 2 sessions on the 279. All right. Unless there's anything else from my team or anybody else, we will call it a day. I will use my gavel that is actually my coffee cup. And we will end this meeting. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Look forward to seeing you again. And reach out if you have questions about your data. Thank you.